President Trump and Elon Musk at odds on a number of issues, from the big, beautiful bill to subsidies for electric vehicles, and their disagreements spilling over into the public.
And possibly who runs NASA is a big deal, too. So could a big, beautiful truce be in the works, or will that divide deepen?
Peter Doocy is live at the White House with the details. Peter?
And we have so much more to report about this just since we talked in the last hour. So when you walk to the broadcasting tents here on the north side, you see West Executive Drive. That's the driveway between the White House and the old executive office building. There is a Tesla there that President Trump bought during a Tesla demo on the South Lawn a few months ago to try to help Elon Musk's business while it was being vandalized. We're told that that Tesla, still sitting there, the red Tesla with Florida tags, is either going to be given away or sold off. And we are told that it was about a month that Elon Musk was wearing thin on Trump. So this was not a sudden exit and then blow up. There was about a month that he was wearing thin, the president's word. Something else, there was some reporting today about the possibility of a Trump and Elon Musk phone call to make nice. Aides are telling me that is not something they are tracking. It's possible that some staffers might try to talk to Musk, but no Trump and Musk call, at least not that we know about. We did hear from the president yesterday, and he didn't sound mad, but he sounded disappointed.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we will anymore, but I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot. And I'll be honest, I think he misses the place. I think he got out there and all of a sudden he wasn't in this beautiful Oval Office.
The lowest blows yesterday came from Elon. He said, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. And then he wrote, time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. The president, of course, said that Musk had been wearing thin and he was asked to leave. And the president offered up the idea that the fastest way to save money would be to cancel Musk's government contracts. Musk then wrote, in light of the president's statement about cancellation of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. But he later said, okay, we won't decommission Dragon. Trump rarely seems as close to aides as he did for a time to Elon Musk, and we asked about that at the start of his term.
Elon Musk said today, I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. What does the First Lady think about that?
Oh, I think she'll be okay with it somehow.
So this was a sensational back and forth on the platform Elon Musk owns yesterday, but there were signs of strain for the last week or so in public. Elon Musk blew up in the Oval Office during his send-off when I tried to ask him about this big New York Times report that alleged he was blurring the lines between medical use of drugs and recreational use of drugs, and we still don't have any real clarity about that. Back to you.
Well, one thing is pretty clear, Peter. Wasn't Elon Musk really tight with J.D. Vance? Didn't they have a relationship prior because of their tech backgrounds? And I'm wondering, with him, he's also tight. Elon Musk is tight with Don Jr., too. So I don't know. Did he pre-think this? Is he breaking up with everybody he knows there?
It's unclear how much thought went into this ahead of time, but we are not hearing any Republicans come out to say we are with Elon Musk. Even the Republicans who were with him at a couple days ago when he started saying we need the big, beautiful bill to be smaller. And if anything, some of the top folks around here that you talk to, it seems like this actually helps the big, beautiful bill, because if lawmakers, elected Republicans, have to pick a side between Elon Musk, who wants the bill smaller and killed in its current form, or Donald Trump, who wants it through, most of the people in elected Washington are going to go with Donald Trump.
Yeah, everybody not named Rand Paul and Tom Massey.
Right.
Yep. Thanks so much, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Elon, this is what Caroline Levitt said. Elon can speak for his companies as a businessman, but President Trump has the responsibility to fight for our country. Ted Cruz was on last night. He said it's unfortunate. They're both extraordinary men. He said Elon's an incredible business leader and businessman, and Trump's phenomenal. Works daily, pulling this country back from the abyss. He said they're both great leaders. When they were together, they were better for the country. And Elon was right. He said we need to make the bill better. We need to make more cuts. And he said in the Senate, they will definitely be doing that.
They're still together. This is just a fight. Grown men fight. We don't get to see it publicly sometimes. Yeah, they should have handled this behind closed doors, but there's just no alternative. What is Elon going to do? Go become a Democrat? Going to start a third party? That's not going to happen. He is our George Soros, and Donald Trump is the right's Barack Obama. And the president has a role. He has to get things passed. He has to bring the coalition together. He has to worry about the Senate as well as Congress, and has to keep the tent together, whereas Elon can put pressure from his standpoint of saying, I want this in the bill, but he doesn't have the responsibility of making sure it gets passed. He's used to having his company where he has the final say. The government doesn't work that way.
He spent $288 million for Republican causes. Tesla's stock is down 14%. And the problem he has is Elon Musk is brilliant, but he's not popular. So every Democrat is against him now. And now Republicans are asked to make a choice between the most popular Republican and Elon Musk. He's not going to come out on top there. All he has is money, and he is brilliant. But Bill Ackman gave a lot of people hope when he put this out, and he got a response. He is a self-made billionaire and a friend of both men. He said, I support Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they should make peace for the benefit of the great country. We are much stronger together than apart. And then Musk came right back with this. You're not wrong. That beats you're on Epstein's list.
They'll definitely make peace. Donald Trump has had feuds with a lot of other people, a lot of Republicans.
Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance. I mean, pretty much his whole cabinet.
Ted Cruz, remember?
Exactly.
And they came back together. Yeah, they need each other. Ted Cruz needed Trump. Trump, helped Ted Cruz get over the finish line for his Senate race. And then Ted Cruz honored him in return by supporting him during his campaigns. So we've seen this before. I think they will make truce.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.